I want you to picture a specific moment. And I'm guessing almost every single person listening to this has felt it at least once. You've been grinding on a massive project for months. Maybe it's a quarterly revenue target, a huge product launch, or I don't know, maybe you're just training for a marathon. You are in the trenches.
The grind.
Right. And then finally, you cross the finish line, you hit the number, you launch the product, you pop the champagne, everyone is high-fiving. But here is the catch. How long does that actual feeling of satisfaction last?
The half-life of victory is surprisingly short.
It is, isn't it? 5 minutes? Maybe an hour? A day, if you're lucky. Before you are suddenly sitting there, the champagne is flat, and you're thinking, okay, that's done. What is next? Am I behind on the next thing?
That's the arrival fallacy. It's this belief that once I make it there, then I'll be happy. But the goalpost just moves the second you cross the line.
It's exhausting. And frankly, it feels like a trap. Because if you stop running, you feel lazy. But if you keep running, you burn out. And that is exactly what we are taking apart today. We're doing a deep dive into a really fascinating new article from the Phoenix Performance Partners.
And this isn't just, fluffy self-help advice. The Phoenix team is looking at the psychology of high performance. They're exploring a concept they call content ambition.
Content ambition. I have to be honest, when I first read that title, it sounded like an oxymoron. Or maybe just a nice way of saying settling. You can be content or you can be ambitious. Pick one.
That's the binary most of us live in. But the article argues that not only can you have both, you actually need both. That is, if you want to sustain high performance over decades rather than just quarters.
So our mission today is to figure out how to escape these fear-based leadership styles that most of us fall into, often without even realizing it, and find this so-called sweet spot.
And to frame this, the source material actually opens with a quote from Tony Robbins that cuts pretty deep. It says, "The quality of your life is determined by the quality of the questions you ask yourself."
And we are going to ask some uncomfortable questions today, but first let's unpack the problem. The article starts with a story about a CEO that I think is going to resonate with or maybe trigger a lot of people listening.
Oh, it's a classic archetype. This executive coach was working with a CEO who had just hit a massive milestone. I mean, the kind of breakthrough that saves the fiscal year.
A hero moment.
Exactly. And the coach sits down with him and says, "Let's talk about the win. How are we celebrating?" And the CEO barely paused. He acknowledged it for maybe a second and then immediately launched into, "That's great, but now we need to tackle these next three problems because the supply chain is backing up."
That's great, but that is the killer phrase right there.
It is. It's an inability to metabolize success. And the Phoenix team points out this isn't just a quirk. It's a symptom of a specific operating mode. The source argues most leaders oscillate between two binary modes. And here is the kicker. Both of them are based on fear.
Okay, let's break these down. The first one is striving. I feel like I know this one intimately, but let's be clear. We aren't just talking about working hard, are we?
No. Hard work is neutral. Striving, in this context, is psychological. It's operating from a fear of not being enough or not doing enough.
So the work isn't just work. It's a way to fill a void.
Precisely. It's a deficiency mindset. You are trying to prove your worth through your output. And because that worth bucket has a hole at the bottom, you can never, ever fill it.
Which explains the symptoms the article lists: constant pushing, rarely satisfied. But the one that really stood out to me was the relationship with rest.
Right. To a striver, rest feels irresponsible.
That hits hard. Rest feels irresponsible. Like if I take a nap or a weekend off, the whole house of cards is going to fall down.
And it goes deeper than that. If your identity is tied to doing, then just being, just sitting still, feels like a threat to your existence. Slowing down feels dangerous to a striver because they have to face themselves without the noise of productivity.
Okay, so that's one extreme. The burnout track. What is the other one?
The other one is coasting.
Which sounds lovely, honestly. Sign me up for some coasting.
It sounds nice, and I think we often view it as the lazy option. But in this framework, coasting is also fear-based. It's operating from a fear of failure or discomfort.
So it's not that they can't do more, it's that they are afraid to.
Exactly. It's risk aversion. Usually this happens after you've achieved a certain level of success. You have a reputation now, you have a title, you have something to lose, so you stop taking the big swings.
You play defense instead of offense.
Right. You trade aspiration for security. You might be comfortable, but you aren't challenged. And the article points out that while striving exhausts your energy, coasting exhausts your potential.
So, on one hand, you have the striver who is burning out because they are terrified they aren't enough. And on the other hand, you have the coaster who is stagnant because they are terrified of looking like a failure.
Both are traps, and neither leads to sustainable high performance.
Okay, so if both of those are traps, what is the alternative? Because we can't just stop having goals. We run businesses. We have targets.
This brings us to the core concept of the article: content ambition.
Which, again, I'm skeptical of. Content ambition sounds like a compromise.
It's not a compromise, it's an integration.
Eh,
The article defines it as the conscious integration of gratitude for what is with the intentional pursuit of what could be.
okay, unpack that for me. Because usually we think those two things are enemies. If I'm grateful for what I have, why would I work for more?
That is the scarcity model of motivation. We're taught that hunger comes from starvation, that the only way to generate the energy to climb the mountain is to hate where you're standing right now.
The burning platform theory.
Exactly. But think about the fuel. If you are running on fear of failure, fear of poverty, fear of irrelevance, that is a dirty fuel. It burns hot and it gets you moving, for sure, but it destroys the engine eventually.
That's the burnout.
Content ambition shifts the fuel source. It shifts from fear to purpose, or what the source boldly calls love.
Love is that's a tough word to use in a boardroom.
It is, but think of it as abundance. You aren't running away from a negative outcome. You are running toward a vision you care about. You are pursuing growth because you are excited about the impact, not because you are terrified of who you are if you don't.
So you can be satisfied with today and still be hungry for tomorrow.
Yes, satisfied and hungry. It's the both-and philosophy.
I buy the concept theoretically, but practically. I feel like it's easy to nod along and say, yes, I want that, but harder to know if you are actually doing it. Most of us probably think we're doing fine until we hit a wall.
Well, you are in luck. The Phoenix Source provides a diagnostic.
I love a good quiz.
This is designed to help you figure out if you are leaning more towards striving or coasting. So I'm going to throw some questions at you and at you, the listener, and I just want you to answer them mentally.
Let's do it.
Okay, first, let's test for striving. If you're a striver, you struggle with contentment. So here's the question. What does rest look like for you?
Does doom scrolling on my phone count?
See, that's the tell. If you can't answer that clearly, or if your version of rest is just numbing out or distraction rather than actual recharging, you might be striving.
That hits home. Real rest requires being present, and that's hard.
Here's another one. When was the last time you celebrated a win for more than 24 hours?
Oof. 24 hours. I feel like usually I give it about 24 minutes. I sign the deal, send the email, and then I'm worrying about implementation.
Right. And the third one for striving. What are you currently saying yes to that doesn't align with your priorities?
Ah, that is the classic busy work trap. Doing things just to feel productive, even if they don't move the needle.
Exactly. No, let's flip it. What about the coasters? If you are coasting, you struggle with ambition. So ask yourself this. What is your dream?
And if the answer is just getting to the weekend,
Then you might be coasting. Here is a sharper one. What impact do you want to make that scares you a little?
there's me.
Yes. If your goals don't give you a little bit of butterflies, they might be too safe. You've engineered the risk out of your life.
That's a really good point. We often think of safety as success, but here, safety is stagnation.
And finally, what would you attempt if you knew you couldn't fail? That's the classic big dreaming question. But coasters usually avoid answering it because it highlights the gap between where they are and where they could be.
You know, you mentioned before we started recording that there is a meta insight here. It's not just about the answers.
No. What matters more is your emotional reaction to the questions. This is the somatic check.
What do you mean by that?
I mean, pay attention to how your body felt when I asked those. When I asked about rest or celebrating a win, did you feel anxious?
Yeah, a little tightness in the chest. Like, I don't have time for that nonsense.
That resistance is the data point. If the idea of resting feels threatening, you are likely striving. Your identity is fighting back.
Then for the coaster.
If the ambition questions about scary goals or big dreams made you feel defensive or tired or like you wanted to roll your eyes, that's resistance. That means you are protecting your comfort zone.
That is fascinating. The resistance tells you where the fear is hiding.
Precisely.
Okay, so let's say you've identified your trap. Maybe you're a striver who can't stop or a coaster who's stuck. How do we actually practice content ambition? The article outlines 5 practices. Let's walk through them, but I want to get tactical here.
Sure. And remember, this is a practice, not a destination.
Yeah.
You don't just arrive at content ambition and stay there forever.
Practice number 1, acknowledge the win.
This goes right back to our CEO at the beginning. Before you move to the next goal, you have to pause.
But isn't that just self-indulgent? I think a lot of leaders feel like high-fiving themselves is soft.
That's the striver mindset talking. The source makes a really important distinction here. This isn't indulgence, it is fuel. Physiologically, you need that dopamine hit to close the loop. Gratitude creates the capacity to do more. If you never refill the tank, the car stops.
So it's performance maintenance. I like that framing. Okay, practice number 2, define enough.
This is a tricky one for high performers. What would be enough for today? Or what would be enough for this week?
But doesn't enough sound like mediocrity? Oh, I did enough, I'm clocking out.
That is the fear again. Defining enough doesn't mean you stop growing. It means you stop operating from a bottomless pit. You set a boundary. You say, I have done enough for today to be proud, and that allows you to actually disconnect.
It prevents the goalpost from moving during the game.
Exactly. You pursue growth from a place of fullness, not lack.
Practice number 3, check your motivation.
This is the crucial question we touched on earlier. You have to ask yourself, am I pursuing this because I'm afraid of what happens if I don't? Or because I'm excited about what happens if I do?
Fear versus excitement.
Reactive versus proactive. Fear-based ambition is exhausting. It feels like you're constantly running from a predator. Love-based ambition or excitement-based ambition gives you energy. It pulls you forward.
So if you are dreading a project, it might not be the work itself. It might be the motivation behind the work.
Often, yes.
Practice number 4, build rest into your rhythm.
If rest only happens when you are forced to stop, like when you get the flu or you completely burn out, you are striving.
I feel attacked. I think I only rest when my body literally quits on me.
A lot of us do. But the reframe here is vital. Rest is not a reward for achievement. You don't earn sleep. Rest is a requirement for sustainability. Think of it like a Formula One pit stop.
Okay, go on.
Max Verstappen doesn't pull into the pit because he earned a break. He pits because if he doesn't change the tires, they will blow out and he will lose the race. Rest is a strategic advantage.
That is a great visual. It's part of the strategy, not a deviation from it. And finally, practice number 5, pursue growth that matters.
This is about getting off the conveyor belt of what you should do. Stop chasing things because society or your parents or your peers say that is what success looks like.
Comparison is the thief of joy, right?
And the thief of content ambition.
Yeah.
You need clarity on what success means to you. If you are chasing someone else's definition of success, you will never feel content, no matter how much you achieve. You get to the top of the ladder and realize it's leaning against the wrong wall.
So putting it all together, striving says, I'll rest when I'm dead, or I'll rest when I've done enough. Coasting says, why risk it? And content ambition says, what?
Content ambition says, I am grateful for here and I'm excited for there.
I am grateful for here and excited for there. That is the mantra.
It is the shift from operating out of lack to operating out of wholeness.
Mm-hmm.
And when you do that, you become a much more effective leader. You are calmer, you are clearer, and paradoxically, you usually achieve more because you aren't burning up 30% of your bandwidth on anxiety.
It really changes the texture of the work, doesn't it? It stops being a grind and starts being a craft.
That's the goal.
Okay, we always like to leave you with something actionable. The source from Phoenix Performance Partners actually gives a specific weekly challenge.
Yes, and I would love for everyone listening to actually try this. Don't just consume the content. Do the work. It has 3 parts.
Part 1.
Name one win from the past month that you haven't fully acknowledged. Just one. And take a moment to actually feel the satisfaction of it. Don't rush past it. That is the contentment piece.
Part 2.
Name one dream that genuinely lights you up. Not a goal you have to hit for the board, but a dream that excites you. That is the ambition piece.
And part 3.
The audit. Ask yourself if you are operating from fear or love in each of those areas. Just notice it. You don't have to fix it instantly, but awareness is the first step to shifting it.
It sounds simple, but I have a feeling that if we actually do that, if we actually sit with the win, it might bring up some interesting resistance.
It usually does, and that resistance is where the growth is.
Before we sign off, I want to leave you with this final thought from the article that I found really provocative. We are so conditioned to believe that satisfaction is the enemy of progress. We think if we are happy, we will stop trying.
But the source asks, how would your leadership change? How would your life change if you stopped treating satisfaction as the enemy?
You can be enough and still want more. That is not a contradiction. That is the sweet spot.
And that is where the real magic happens.
Thanks for diving in with us today. Go celebrate a win and then go dream something big. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.
Take care.